You keep buying tomato and cucumber starts every spring, and you keep losing them. You set them out when the sun feels warm, then a late cold snap takes half. Or you stretch them on a windowsill until they're weak and leggy. By midsummer, you're paying for greenhouse tomatoes at the store because your outdoor plants stalled with disease or never ripened in time. Meanwhile, you heat your home all winter while the south side of your house throws away free solar energy. The failure is predictable because the system is misunderstood. You're trying to grow without a controlled microclimate, and you're treating heat as a bill instead of a flow you can capture. You also think a greenhouse is a luxury product: glass, aluminum, a concrete footing, and a four-figure kit. That belief is the choke point. The industry has sold you components. It has not sold you a system.
The reality is simpler. A functional, productive lean-to greenhouse can be built for about $200 from scrap wood and polyethylene sheeting. It extends usable growing windows by roughly 4 months in warm, temperate, and subtropical climates. It lets you start your own seedlings on time instead of paying retail. It keeps tomatoes, cucumbers, and peppers in stable conditions through summer. And when attached to a south-facing wall with an interior door or window, it behaves like a passive solar collector that warms your dwelling during the day. John Seymour built and used structures like this for decades because they serve self-sufficiency rather than component sales. The same design still outperforms expensive kits when the goal is food and heat, not architecture. Treat this as a system intervention, not a project. A lean-to does 3 things in one move. It cuts the material bill in half by using your house as the fourth wall. It couples your greenhouse air to the thermal mass and baseline heat of the dwelling, lifting winter lows by 5 to 10 degrees compared to a freestanding structure. And it forms a sun trap. Daylight raises interior air to 70 to 80 degrees Fahrenheit, even while outside air is cold. That heat can be bled into the house through a door or window by day and shut off at night. You lose a bit of sky exposure compared to a freestanding greenhouse, but the warmth and access more than compensate. That is why traditional country cottages in England kept lean-tos on their south walls. Cheaper to build, easier to use, and they warmed the house.
The next decision is glazing. Glass is durable, heavy, and expensive. It demands a stronger frame, breaks under impact, and costs an order of magnitude more than polyethylene. Polyethylene film is the opposite. Very cheap, very light, high light transmission, and it will degrade in 1 to 2 years. That trade-off is the point. At roughly 1/10 the price of glass, polyethylene can be replaced on a 2-year cycle and still leave you far ahead over a decade. You aren't buying a monument, you're operating a productive envelope. A roll of 6mm polyethylene from the hardware store for around $30 to $40 will skin the entire structure. When UV exposure finally embrittles it, you pull it off and staple on a new layer in an hour. The frame keeps working for decades. The structure is straightforward because the function is clear: 10 feet long, 6 feet deep, roughly 8 feet high where it meets the house, sloping down to about 6 feet at the front. A frame of 2x4 lumber. No poured foundation, just 4 concrete blocks at the corners, leveled in shallow pockets, a gravel floor, 2 simple roof vents to dump heat in hot weather, a door from your house into the greenhouse if you have one on the south wall, otherwise access from outside, but the interior connection is a major advantage for both heat transfer and daily use. Benches built from scrap wood carry trays and pots. Material costs land near $200, about $50 for 2x4s, $40 for polyethylene, around $30 for hinges, screws, and nails, roughly $20 for concrete blocks, and around $60 for gravel and bench lumber. If you have salvage materials on hand, it's less. Construction is 2 days of basic carpentry. The frame will last as long as your house. The plastic is the planned consumable.
The framing geometry follows function. The house wall is the high spine. Sidewalls slope from 8 feet at the house down to 6 feet at the front to both shed water and maximize winter sun angles. Vertical studs at about 16 inches on center keep the skin tight. Roof rafters around 24 inches on center support the film without adding unnecessary weight. 3-inch screws tie it all together. This is a box with a shedding roof. If you can build a shed, you can build this. Skinning is about tension and overlap. Drape the 6mm polyethylene over the roof first, pull it taut, and staple to rafters at roughly 6-inch intervals. Wrinkles collect water and sag. Tension prevents that. Cover the front and both sides the same way, overlapping sheets by about 6 inches and stapling through both layers to seal the seam. Cut a door opening and hang a simple 2x4 door skinned with film. Build 2 rectangular, film-covered roof vents on hinges so they can be propped open in hot weather. In summer, a closed greenhouse can exceed 120 degrees Fahrenheit. Ventilation is non-negotiable. In winter, vents stay shut to trap heat. The interior is an array for dense propagation and steady workflow. Benches and tiers concentrate crops into the best light. 2.5 to 3 feet is the workable maximum bench width. Wider becomes awkward.
In a 10 by 6 footprint, 2 runs make sense, a 3-tier bench on the north side and a single tier on the south so the low winter sun is not shaded. Slatted tops spaced about half an inch let water drain. Old galvanized pipe or simple wood legs support the tiers. If you can add a sheet of glass or plastic under the lowest tier, it protects plants beneath from drips. If not, the gravel takes the water. The floor is deliberately gravel or crushed rock, not concrete. When heat spikes, sprinkling the gravel creates a cool, moist, evaporative effect that stabilizes the air. Hooks and shelves on the walls hold tools, labels, and seed packets. A plain thermometer tracks the thermal behavior of the space. A rain barrel outside the greenhouse harvests roof runoff, and the stored water warms in the greenhouse air, better for plants than cold mains water.
Now, the system's payoff. An unheated lean-to extends your functional season in both directions, roughly 2 months earlier in spring and 2 months later in fall in warm temperate to subtropical climates. It removes the retail dependency for starts by giving you a controlled, warmer, brighter germination and hardening zone. It shields summer crops from rain and wind that trigger disease cycles. It keeps you in fresh greens through the cold months without burning fuel. Seed propagation is the primary job. While nights still freeze and the outside soil holds winter cold, trays in the greenhouse ride solar heat by day and house-adjacent warmth by night. The interior runs about 10 to 15 degrees Fahrenheit warmer than outside, enough to push germination for tomatoes, peppers, cucumbers, squash, and more. Within a couple of weeks, trays are up. As the outside environment moves past recurring hard frosts, benches carry hundreds of well-rooted seedlings, hardened to bright light and daily temperature swings. You have not paid a single dollar for starts, and you are not transplanting truck-shocked seedlings into your soil. Seymour is blunt. A greenhouse exists to propagate and to grow tender crops. For anyone serious about self-sufficiency, some form of greenhouse is worth having.
Through true summer heat, the lean-to behaves like a Mediterranean bubble. Tomatoes and peppers do well in the greenhouse, either in the in-floor soil or in grow bags. Seymour's growing mix is specific: 1 part sphagnum peat, 1 part coarse sharp sand, and 2 parts good garden topsoil. Add a pail of vermiculite or perlite per wheelbarrow if available. It drains, it resists compaction, and it holds roots in high oxygen conditions. With that, tomatoes can climb to 8 feet and yield heavily. Cucumbers run long and consistent. Protected from rain splash and direct weather, disease pressure shits in your favor. In practice, you harvest tomatoes and cucumbers for months and avoid buying a single greenhouse tomato.
When summer crops wind down, the space flips. After the last heavy flush of fruit, you seed the beds to cold-tolerant crops: lettuces, radishes, spinach, and other hardy leaves. These grow steadily through shortening days, then hold through cold spells. While outside air freezes, you cut fresh leaves from under cover. Seymour's rule stands: do not burn money trying to force summer crops in winter. Eat preserved summer crops and grow what wants the cold. An unheated greenhouse does that without a fuel bill. The passive solar function is the quiet dividend that changes household energy flow. Sunlight through the film heats the air and the materials inside the greenhouse every clear day. With an interior door or window, you open the connection by day and let warm air move into the house. Then you close it at night to prevent reverse flow. The lean-to becomes a sun trap where you can work, sit, and collect heat. You sacrifice some sky exposure compared to a freestanding structure, but the heat gain from being attached to the dwelling outweighs that loss. That heat cuts your winter energy demand, small per day, compounding over months.
The numbers make the long-term consequence obvious. A 10 by 6 foot lean-to can carry about 500 seedlings in spring. At 50 cents per start, that's $250 retained. 20 tomato plants yielding 50 pounds each is 1,000 pounds of fruit. At $2 per pound for organic greenhouse tomatoes, that's $2,000 you are not spending. 10 cucumber plants at 20 fruits each is 200 cucumbers. At $2 a piece, that's $400 avoided. Winter lettuce and spinach can displace around $200 in purchased greens. Passive solar gain can trim roughly $100 from a heating bill. That's around $3,000 per year diverted from the store and the utility. The build cost is about $200, with a payback measured in weeks, not years. The replacement film every 2 seasons is roughly $40. The frame persists for decades. The annual balance keeps compounding.
This is not a modern trend. It is how country houses were made productive: a simple lean-to on the south wall, built cheaply, unheated, and used daily. Seymour's warning still applies. A heated greenhouse is rarely worthwhile unless you have a cheap, renewable energy source. An unheated one is extremely useful. It propagates, it shelters tender crops, it stores daytime heat, and it runs for decades with negligible inputs.
Once you stop seeing a greenhouse as a product and start seeing it as an energy and biology interface, the waste pattern you've been living through becomes unnecessary. You are no longer buying kits, you are building an envelope out of lumber and plastic. You are not burning fuel to push summer crops through winter. You are aligning crops with their tolerance and using cover to bridge the edges of the season. You are not paying retail for starts. You are raising them in controlled light and warmth. You are not buying summer tomatoes. You are picking hundreds of pounds from your own protected vines. You are not ignoring south wall sun. You are pulling it through your kitchen doorway.
A $200 lean-to greenhouse is not a hobby upgrade. It is a permanent change to how heat and biology move on your property. One weekend of carpentry yields a tool that produces food 12 months a year, reduces winter energy demand, and severs your dependence on the seasonal retail cycle. That is a system-level intervention with a multi-decade payoff. Stop acting like a customer. Operate the system. The lean-to is a simple, durable intervention that changes how heat and biology move through a property. Lesson 1. A lean-to functions as an integrated system: solar capture, thermal coupling to the house, and a propagation zone, so timing of sowing and venting produces predictable seasonal gains and reduced failure. Lesson 2. Choosing low-cost, replaceable glazing with a durable frame prioritizes long-term return on labor and manages risk across years, rather than chasing a one-time build. Reflecting on your current seed start and heating routines and considering one small, testable change this season can demonstrate how the system shifts. Disclaimer: this content is educational. Adapt designs to your local climate, site conditions, and experience level.